Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly discussion series that's hosted by the Chaldean Cultural Center in collaboration with U of M Detroit Center, Unique Voices in Films, and CMN TV. I'm your host, Riam Nemu, and our guest today is Theo Wardia. Hello, otherwise known as Theo. Hi, Theo.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Well, Theo is the operations director for the nonprofit organization Arabic Chaldean Hispanic organization, a multi-language community service and consumer advocacy organization that offers multiple support services to those experiencing hardship. Theo volunteered for the Red Cross and Salvation Army prior to his work with this organization. And we're still in the National Hispanic Heritage Month, so we're still honoring that, and we're very happy that you're joining us because when we came across your organization, we thought, wow, what three beautiful cultures to come together. What is their story? And then this is what you're going to be telling us today, right? But before we get into the story of the organization, we want to learn a little bit more about you, about your upbringing. Where were you born, and when did you come to the United States?
I am an immigrant. I came to America with my parents. I was 15 years old, and I followed the steps of my parents as they immigrated from Iraq. I was born in Baghdad. My family were born almost near the center of the country, near Baghdad. And for economic, political reason, they immigrated to the United States. And we came to America young. We had to learn the language just like everybody else. We went to school. We tried to get our education. We tried to melt with society as much as we could. But finally, we realized that, again, like we talked about earlier, that our foot is in the old country. And the other foot that we have is in the new country. So we have to proceed forward. But we should never forget about the old country, the old ways of living, the old tradition, everything else that comes with it, the people, the language, the customs. So it's a journey. It's like everybody else, but we have to adapt. And the first thing what you want to do is when you adapt is you have to learn the language. You have to stay in school, get the education. This is what we want to do. This is what we want to do. And this is the message that we want to come across to a lot of people, especially the one that had came earlier, and we feel that pain, but we also need them to flip a new page and come in and start learning the language, learning the ways of law, learn how we live in the new country. And it's great. It gives us a lot of opportunities. It makes us, move forward.
So you're obviously a man of service because you worked with the Red Cross and the Salvation Army before you got involved with this organization. What led you to get involved with them, and what was that work like?
To tell you the truth, that my motivation volunteering came from experience. Some of it is bad, some of it is good, but all in all, gave me an opportunity to volunteer in local organization. Red Cross is very active in a lot of different venues where it gives opportunity for, let's say, people who got caught up with the law and they tangled up with the court system, and the court system really, that really make them to do some community service. And this community service could lead to other things. Some of it being in a halfway house prior to their fully released from prison. So at the time when I started during the late years of 2008, 2009, our nation really went through a turbulent time. We had a financial crisis. People were laid off. Some were losing their job. People were start losing, their homes. So what gives us a chance to meet with one another and discuss and talk about what can we do to defend the community, our people always comes first, and then other communities, other nationalities uh, that lives among us. We live in a very small country, a very small community, and our community somehow is closed up because they don't want to venture out. And we wanted to do more, open the doors, have people to understand why things are happening the way they are. Where do we go from here? How
So,
can we bring other cultures
Theo,
and to understand from them what we can do to help ourselves?
okay, I really like what you just said because this is something that was brought up. Even my son goes to a school that has a lot of Chaldean kids, and the principal and the administration had talked to the parents, including myself, about the fact of helping Chaldeans assimilate and acclimate. And you mentioned something about their fear or unwillingness to do that. What do you think the cause of that is?
A lot of it comes from not knowing really what goes on around you. Again, we live in a very closed uh, community. We tend not to open the door. We don't really venture out. We try to hang on as much as we can to our ways of life, to our culture, customs, and all that. It's kind of good, but it's kind of bad. And I'll tell you why. Because there's other people that we need to learn from. We don't know everything. We are immigrants, just like a lot of people in this country, in our societies, in our cities, in our communities. So we need to venture out, and we need to understand that. Look, we need to learn something new here, and how we are going to learn about it. So the opportunity always comes from someone who is willing to initiate the first step, and the first step has to be by someone that has some kind of understanding and knowledge about how do these organizations maintain their work and how they serve the community and give the community the chance to help them, to help themselves, to learn how to help themselves. And the way to go about it is to go in through another organization. You pick, then we're surrounded by different organizations. You choose which way you want to go. But the large percent of the communities that work in our area, they are experienced. They experience a lot of things. They experience the good and the bad. So what we want the good that does us good, that do us good, not just for one individual, but for everybody. Our youth need to learn these things, need to learn the law, need to learn the way of land. I mean, this is how we need to live here in America. We have to set examples.
Right.
And a lot of times we get the wrong message, the wrong information that tangles us up and really bad, makes us go into a bad situation. And the law is not far away. They're gonna come in and try to push that law upon us, where a lot of us don't understand why, because we live a certain way. We have this ideas in our mind that our custom, our ways of life is always the right way, but it's in the way, but we need to learn new
Yeah,
things.
I mean it's different. We kind of come from more like a tribal community, so
Right.
the
So this
communication is different. The laws, and that comes anywhere, and from any place that you come, there's going to be different laws and customs. But I wanted to know regarding the organization because, like you said, it's good for people, whichever organization clicks with them, and they need help with. There's plenty in the United States in each community. But why particularly, what we'd like to know about is what was the root of this particular organization? How did it come to be an Arab, Chaldean, Hispanic organization in particular? How did you guys connect in that way?
it's very simple. If you are misunderstanding because you have a language barrier, you're a handicap, basically. When you can't speak your mind, and if you can't really bring your thoughts, bring it forward to the other person, you're pretty much a handicap. This is what we want to eliminate. We want to learn languages. We want to be able to understand someone that comes from not too far away. We've been surrounded by Canada, which is half the Canadians speak English and half of it speaks French. And they learn that both languages are important. So being a bilingual, it's really important. A lot of us here in Michigan, we don't pay too much attention to other people speaking a different language. We tend to be speaking the same traditional language among us and not paying attention or regard to other languages. So being close to Mexico, being close to the Hispanic, we are very close. I myself, I lived in the different part of the Latin America, and I had to learn the language. But there's other Latinos live very close to us. They have the same issues, they have the same concerns, and they are willing to work. So why couldn't we team with them and have a common goal and going forward to help one another? And we start first by learning the language and then learn the custom. And then later on, when we're happy, we learn how to prepare food and see what things that taste good, what things that we not, if we're not really used to eating something different, but now maybe we could join them and taste that food and see how it's made and what do they think and how they go about their work. How did they come here? What if there is Chaldeans living in Latin America? Oh yeah, we have Chaldeans who immigrated early in the century, early 20th century, who immigrated to Latin America, thinking they are going to the United States, but they landed in Latin America because they need to get out of the ship. So they ended up living in Mexico. Some of them lived in Guatemala, believe it or not, because I went through the Central American or Pan American highway, driving an old van, searching for the Chaldeans that landed in Latin America by accident, by some kind of I could say bad luck, maybe, being sick on a ship that took weeks before they get to the new land, thinking they're going to the United States or they're going to Brazil. Some of them thought they going to Brazil, and they landed in Mexico. They thought, well, might as well we're here, better than being in a ship. Let's make our new home. So
interesting story.
Language is really important.
And it's important to hear about these stories because I actually learned this information with our last guest that we had, who also had his Hispanic heritage, and she was half Chaldean, half Hispanic. And I learned that, a lot of them got there by accident. And it's like, well, this is so interesting because I know living in Michigan, why they came to Michigan, and we have that story. But these other stories makes you realize that the world is a lot bigger, but yet smaller than we think. And the more stories that we hear, we think like we're not all just in this one little, we are all over the world right now. And being all over the world, it's an opportunity for us to understand other cultures. I feel like your organization kind of represents that, just the unity, the importance of understanding
Diversity.
neighbors, diversity. Even with the Arabic culture, we grew up amongst the Arab culture. And I know that there are a lot of things that have happened, unfortunately, a lot of negative things that have led to Chaldeans and other minorities to have to leave that region. But that doesn't mean, like, despite what I know and what my ancestors experienced in that land, I can't void the beautiful experiences. I can't void the foods, the music, the things that we have in common. It's one thing to be honest and truthful about what's happening, but not, hateful to the whole thing. But that's why stories matter. That's why education, and that's why organizations like yourself matter, because you kind of bring us that to the awareness that whatever is happening that might seem like there's a lot of negativity, at the end of the day, we still share a lot in common.
Like you said, when we sit among other group of people, the closest one to us, which is the Arabic speaking community. And the beautiful thing about this is that we could sit together and communicate, and we start having a conversation, and we talk, and we have something that gives us a plus, that we could come across these people and get involved about the concern. But the concern is one, but we need to speak it out. We need to get the message out. We also have to hear. We have to understand what they're talking about. The thing that is good for us that we lived in the old country and we came to America later on, that we brought with us the ability to speak the Arabic language. And the Arabic language, it's extremely important, especially in the communities that we live right now, in this southeast part of Michigan, where there's a lot of different communities. Some Europeans, a lot of them are Middle Easterns. And we live among people that they share the same goal. They do the same thing that we do. They work almost exactly like us. So when we sit among them, being able to communicate with them, we could share these concerns. We could talk about a lot of different things. What is important to us? What we like to see, what we like to do, what we don't want to see, and what we want to do. So it's kind of a plus that we could speak it, come across, and share these ideas and concerns, and maybe later on we can move on to something else, something better, away from all the negative, away from all the prejudice that people who are trying to embed all these negative information and negative stories and the ideologies they carry on with all this negativeness they have in their head, which doesn't do any one of us any good. It doesn't do us good, doesn't do them good. So why don't we move forward? Why don't we move forward to understand that we need to understand each other and have concerns that brings us all together rather than dividing us. With
That's
the language,
beautifully
of
said.
course, the language that gives us this ability. It's like a transport. You are being able to come across people that share your ideas, share the same thing that you are concerned about. With that language, it takes you there. It's a mobility.
Yeah, this is beautifully said, because you're right. We don't want the ideologies. I mean, I think we escaped our countries because of these ideologies, and here in the United States, we're able to represent the diversity that you're talking, like your organization stands for. And regarding the Arabic language, so when we give tours of the museum, which I hope one day you will be able to visit us there, when we give tours, we talk about that the first Chaldean came when he came to the United States. He went to Philadelphia. He didn't last very long because there was nobody there. And I
Yes.
mean, it's very hard to live with people that are there's no relations in any kind of way, no language or anything like that. Anyway, he ended up going back to Iraq. So he spread the word that don't go to Philadelphia. Basically, what ended up happening is they ended up doing more research and found that, well, there's an Arabic speaking community in Michigan, the Lebanese and the Syrians. And so that was a primary reason for them to come to the United States, because they knowing that language, whoever is here is going to end up helping them out to acclimate and to assimilate and to work. And that's exactly what happened. And it was actually the Lebanese and the Syrians that helped the Chaldeans when they first arrived, working in the stores until they built themselves up. And of course, as they built themselves up, then they were able to bring their family members. This is an important history because it was the language that allowed them to come and to understand how to work in the United States, what to do, kind of like what you guys are providing right now. But at that time, there were no Chaldeans in Michigan.
I mean, I remember myself when we came here in the early 70s, there were not that many colonists. There were not many people that really could speak the Aramaic, the Surah that we were used to speaking, because there weren't many around. So what happened, it bonded us together in a way that we were extremely happy to see one. Like I myself, when I was young, getting on the bus, on a bus going all the way downtown to work. There weren't that many shopping stores or malls or this and that we have today in every corner. There were none of that. So you have to go all the way to downtown to shop, to do your shopping. So when we get on the bus and see a Chaldean, it brings us so much joy. And we talk to another. We try not to avoid that person. We try to know who they are. So language goes hand in hand with culture. So we're happy, we're proud, we do a lot of different things that we like to do, but again now it's a little bit different than what we used to, especially for us, the older generation. The newer generation, they already came in here and seen the stores, seen the malls, seen the shops, seen the restaurant. They meet here and there because it's easy access now. But we didn't have that chance. We had to slowly get adapted to it, and we had to get in touch with people who made investments, made a new life, and everything they have in it to make it representable that to other people that do want to do business with them. So the first thing we have to understand that it takes time, but also we need that language, we need the school, we need the education, we need the knowledge. It's really important. We can't ignore knowledge. Knowledge is the tool, is the mobile, is the mobility to go from here to whatever you want to go. Without it, we really hindered, and you can't go anywhere. A lot of people that I know, they've been here in the country for many years. They don't go anywhere. They just sit home and they speak, the Chaldean language, the Surah, or they speak Arabic, and they don't want to do anything else. But this is not what we want to represent the new generation. We want the new generation to understand our heritage. We want them to understand our culture, our customs. But also at the same time, we need them to understand what we need to do to live in a country with its own traditional ways of life, customs, language, schooling, jobs, laws, and everything else to be able to go ahead. Without knowing that, it's really difficult. You can't be sitting home, expect that everything gonna come right to you. It doesn't work like that anymore.
So
You
would you
have to be able, you have to communicate, you have to get in touch. You have to be able to speak your mind, ask questions.
So would you say that, I was going to ask you the next question, but I feel like you're kind of answering it already. Would you say that that was the most challenging part, is getting people engaged uh, when you started this, or what was the most challenging part of the whole thing, the process?
The, our people facing the same challenges. It's like every nationality, every identity, every person that comes to this country wants to make a new life, and the new life starts with language, starts with being able to communicate. If you can't speak that language, whether it's English, French, Spanish, whatever, you can't live in that society. You'll have a hard time. But when you do understand, you be able to speak the language, makes it a lot easier for you. It opens a lot of doors. So going to school is really important while you're working. If you're a newcomer and you don't seek education, your life is going to be extremely hard. This is how we learn. We learn to go to school. We had no other choice. We have to go to school to understand how are we communicating to other people that have been here many, many, many years. And what we want from them, we want to live. We want jobs. We want to go to school. We want good paying jobs. We want to proceed ahead. We want better things. How are we going to live? How are we going to make a living in a country when speaking the language extremely hard? You just can't do it.
So Theo, on a personal level, what motivates you, and what is the goal for you, whether part of this organization or just as a Chaldean American? What is your story moving forward?
What motivates me the most is really, it's like there's a lot of people that need our help. Usually, the help that they seek either have to do something with education. They want to learn something, go to school, or they're outside of the United States, want to come into the country to be admitted to a school or college or university, or something to do with the community that get tangled up with the law. They got tangled up because they have children or they have some problems at home. There's some domestic violence, some misunderstanding, and that brings us closer to these people trying to resolve these problems. We want to heal. We don't want to create a situation where people have no other choice but going through an obstacle that they can't solve, or maybe they can't understand how to solve it. So being here for the people that need us usually have to do with how to go about, how can we reach, how can we solve, how can we learn, how can we move forward, how can we build. So all these things have to do with our culture, our community, and we are here. I mean, it's not going to cost them a cent. We're not here to make money off of these people. We're willing to help. We dig out, inside of our own pocket. We live by the money that comes from us, not nowhere else. So being motivated to help these people is like a chance for me to give back to the community for many years that I've worked and taken out. Now it's a chance for me to put back to the community that gave me so much.
That's amazing. That's so wonderful. And, especially because here in Michigan currently has the largest population of Chaldeans in the world. And it also has the largest concentration of Arab Americans in the United States. And so this is a very important area where you are providing the service. And if people want to get a hold of your organization, contact you, what is the best way to do that? I know you have a website. Is the best way just to visit the website?
All our contact information is on the website. All you have to do, you go on the computer, if you have one, and type Arabic Chaldean. Our name comes up. We have a website. We're also on social media. We're on Facebook. This is the limit. I mean, we don't want to be anywhere else. Facebook is what everybody uses. Everybody has an account all day long, looking up, what's going on here and there. And they get tangled up with that.
Well, this is how we found you. Yeah, we actually put Chaldean and Hispanic because we were trying to see people
right,
and then we came up with this one. So I thought we were like, oh, this is even better that they have all three communities in it. So, so thank you again for all the work that you do. Thank you everybody for watching. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.